Hello and welcome. This is Dr. Suzanne, and today I would like to talk about faith as a weapon of warfare. Actually, it has to be your first weapon. And the reason why I'm making this video is to encourage someone. Maybe you've been going through something and you're not seeing the end of it, but the Bible promised that weeping may endure for a night, but joy is coming in the morning. I want to tell you a few stories that hopefully will encourage you. First of all, we want to understand what faith is. If you go to the Bible in the book of Hebrew, chapter 11, we have the definition, and it says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, comma, the evidence of things not seen, period. Now faith, it's a block, and the substance of a thing is a three-dimensional representation of what you want to see, right? So the evidence of things not seen. When you have an evidence, you know that that is going to come to pass. So that's what faith has to be in your life. But what is also faith? Faith is a spirit. Faith is the spirit that is planted in your heart through your ears. The ear is the gate, is the portal through which faith enters, okay? Faith comes by hearing and by hearing the word of God. Meaning that you can find the anchor to what you want in the word of God. You can find the anchor of what you want through hearing a man of God. You can find the anchor of what you want through your dreams, because God speaks to you through dreams, through visions, through different prompts, okay? The gate is the ears, the heart is the chamber in which your faith finds a place. Therefore, the number one thing you have to pay attention to is the people talking around you. What are you allowing to enter through your ear gates? What are you allowing to settle in your heart? This is the key, okay? So if you take, for example, the story of Abraham, we remember that Abraham was called by God to leave his country and go to a place where he will receive a land flowing with milk and honey. He will have a great descendants and da 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 da. We know the whole story. What you must understand is that Abraham was called a friend of God. He's the father of faith, because when God called him, he stood up and he left. He didn't look back like Lot's wife, who became a pillar of salt. We are the salt of the earth, not pillars of salt. So don't look back. Once you believe in what God said, take it and run with it. That's the first thing. So the moment the word is released to you, and the moment you see the realization of that word, there is a huge gap. And that's where your faith is going to carry you. Okay? And that's why I've come to encourage you. Don't give up. Don't give in. You know, sometimes even in life, you get prophecies and you feel like, oh, this is going to happen next month. Oh, tomorrow I'm going to wake up different. You know, just like Joseph. Hey, overnight, he became Pharaoh's second hand. Hey, did you forget that it took 13 years? Did you forget that his brothers sold him? Did you forget that he was removed from the family home by force, by violence, by fire? Do you remember that he was accused of things he didn't do? So we see the overnight happenings, but we forget what happened from the dream. Remember the dream where he saw the moon, the sun, the stars, where he saw the sheep bowing to his? That's where the promise was given. The promise was given at that time. So the overnight of Joseph is an illusion. It's because he had that promise that he stood up. That's the reason why he didn't give up even when he was sold. That's the reason why, when you read that story and they tell you that the brothers threw him in the pit, we never hear that Joseph was screaming, crying. When they pulled him out and sold him to the Ishmaelites, we never hear that Joseph was fighting. He was trying to beat people that, no, the guy was peaceful. The peace that surpasses all understanding. Because you have to know that everything that happens in your life after you have been given the promise, they are just tests. They are just tests to find out if the faith, if what you believe in, you really believe in it. So if you have that understanding, you will not give in, oh. You will not give up. You will continue to look at the goal and listen to the promise. Faith comes by hearing. You have to go back and continue to hear, and continue to strengthen your heart. Because out of your heart, out of those emotions comes the issues of life. That's what you're going to begin to speak. That's how you're going to begin to act. That's what's going to direct your behavior. That's what's going to give you peace. Okay? Because faith, peace, trust, and strength are in the heart. They have to go together. Once you have your faith, you have your peace, you have your trust, you have your strength, that strength is going to help you continue to move on, to get things accomplished. So you should not give up, no matter what you see. Okay? So I'm here to encourage someone. Continue what you have to do. Continue that prayer. Even if you see something contrary, pray, trust. It took 25 years for Abraham to have Isaac. What can I say? It takes time, oh. Now, to tell a little personal story, I'm in the medical field and we work with multiple agencies. And those agencies, we see their patients, they pay us, just multiple agencies. But there was one in particular that was constantly cutting our funds. And I was so annoyed because there was not a way to hold them accountable. It was so slick. So one time they made a mistake and I was able to determine that a mistake was made and we were right. This time I said, I am not letting go. I'm a lioness. And when I take your neck like this, I'm not letting go. So I said, I must go after these people. And I was talking to people around me because, they're pretty big. And they were like, no, you should, no, don't do that. You're going to lose. Don't even try it. So for 6 months, as this thing was going on, I started thinking, Father, what do I do? I didn't want to give in. I didn't want to give up. I can't be stubborn. So I decided that I was going to ask my man of God. I'm privileged to be one of the partners of Wonders with that number. I'm going to leave the link here. And once a year, we have the opportunity to talk to the man of God, Apostle Johnson Suleiman. And even though I had thousands of things going on in my mind, I really wanted to figure out what to do with this situation. So when it was my turn, you have to know, you talk to him for 30 seconds, maximum 60 seconds. So you have to be very to the point. And that was my question. Should I pursue? And he listened. He said, okay, file an injunction. I was like, what does that mean? I don't know what that is. He said, yeah, get your lawyers and they can do that for you. I said, thank you. I took that word in my heart and I said, this word, is not going to on a dry ground. He has fallen on a fertile ground. I'm going to hold on to this. So when they made another mistake, I said, my man of God said to file for an injunction. Even if I don't know what it is, let me go look it up. I'm going to be my own lawyer now. So I went and I filed for the injunction myself in court. And when my lawyer figured that out, he was so annoyed with me. He was so mad. And I was like, no, I just want to have that in records, Let's just continue to move on with the situation. Then at some point, that lawyer began to not be quite straight. So we parted. I got a second set of lawyers, and they were trying to tell me that I don't understand English because I didn't understand what the paperwork meant. I said, Kai Walai. Let me reach out to some of my professors at Harvard because I took a leadership class at the medical school there. Let me reach out to them because they probably understand English. So when they gave the answer back, I entered that. And as soon as I did that, the second lawyer parted from me. They said, I'm too stubborn, I don't listen. And I had to wait another 6 to 8 months to find a third lawyer who would even take the case because I couldn't present myself without a lawyer. Took a third lawyer, working. Meantime, because it had already taken 2.5 years for this same case, they had already modified a lot of paperwork and documents so that my evidence, especially the one I got from the Harvard professors, wouldn't quite match. So we get to studies conference. I go to my lawyer's office and we discuss and I still remember the case from the beginning and I'm explaining it and they're like, no, that's not exactly what it is. They show me some paperwork. I'm like, did you guys change this? And they're like, no, we don't even know. I'm like, Kai, what's going on here? So when I saw that, I got a little bit scared. And I said, okay, no worries. It's just so confusing and all that. I left and I started thinking to myself, am I getting to another situation where this lawyer is also going to team up with my opponent? Sure enough, the next day, the lawyer were calling. You need to dismiss the case. You need to dismiss the case. There's a miscommunication. I said, oh my God, again. And I stopped picking up her calls. I stopped answering the emails. I wasn't opening the emails. I shut down completely. And I said, Father, I don't care. You're going to do something because this is too much. And we're already 3 years in the case, right? I shut down. I don't answer. I don't pick up the calls. I don't open the emails. I just disappear from the planet. So on a Friday, I just glance at my email and I see that the lawyer sent me, of course, she quit my case, right? So I'm here now without a lawyer. So she sent me a bold email there, like, a goodbye email. I don't open. I'm like, I'm not going to touch it. I don't care. And then all weekend, I don't look at it. I just pray. On Sunday to Monday, I prayed late. I went to bed at like 5 a.m. And then I had to wake up at 7 to drop my son off at school. And I came back and I was like, okay, let me just take a nap. But before I take a nap, let me see what this lawyer was trying to tell me on Friday. I opened my email just to discover that they set up the hearing for that morning at 9:30. So the hearing was supposed to be a week from that day, but they collapsed it. So I don't even have time to introduce any document to the courts. I said, okay, what do I do now, Lord? I have nothing in my hand. I was so tired. I said, okay, let me just sleep a little bit until 9:15. I put my alarm on and I said, okay, let me just sleep. When I wake up, I just go to that. It's on Zoom. I just go to that Zoom and listen to them. That's what I did. I go to the Zoom. I was the first one to arrive there. The judge comes. He starts asking me questions. Okay, you don't have a lawyer. You understand this. You can only request this amount of money because you don't have a lawyer. Blah, blah, blah. Very ridiculous amount. I'm like, okay, no worries. It's okay. And you're going to defend your business. I'm like, okay, I will. But I didn't understand what was going to happen, right? So he says, can you guys do your introduction something? I even forgot. your introductory remarks or something. In court, people do that. Hey, I don't know what it is. Oh. So I said, let the other lawyer go first so I can listen. So she goes first. She says, blah, blah, blah. I take notes. And then the judge asked me if I want to do my introductory remarks. I said, no, I'll do it later. Let the first people go. Let them go first. So they call the witnesses. They do this, they do that. And I'm like, in my heart, Father, please help me. Father, help me. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. You, my judge, or you, my lawgiver, you said if I come before them, or you will fill my mouth. I'm just listening. I'm taking notes. Then, I begin to have clear directions on the questions I need to ask. And then I write the questions down. When they finish, I ask my questions. I take notes. First of all, the first question I asked got the judge startled. He just startled. And he repeated the question. And he went to the documents to look for the answer, because the other thing they did, they wiped out some of the documents I had entered. I mean, it was such a chaos. I went on Google. Okay, Google, teach me opening remark. How do I structure my case? What do I say? How do I say it? Hey, within 20 minutes, I had everything down. So we went back to the session. I did my opening remark, very eloquent. I presented my case. You know what? By the end of my presentation, I did my closing remark. The judge was crying. And he was being so irritated against the other party by the question he was asking. I knew I won. But the injunction, that's what saved me. Because that was the only document the judge had on his side. And then I had to negotiate to add the other documents I found in my email. So, you see what fate does? Fate. Even though for 3 years they bullied me, they lied, they wanted to intimidate, I said, no way. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving in, because what I'm doing is not just for me. What they do to me, they might be doing that to others. They might be doing that to the future generations. We need to stop this. We need to document what is happening and change the system. A little bit like David and Goliath. That was the case. But I'm so thankful. Who do you listen to? Who do you give your ears to? There are people around you that will discourage you. They will always tell you, oh, you can't do this. You can't. Hey, run away from them. Oh. Run away from them. Listen to the speaking altars that give you strength, that give you faith, and that bring joy in your life. Okay? This was Dr. Suzanne. Have a wonderful day. Bye.